Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, here today for a story of two gods who became one. A story of the rise and the corruption, and the fall and the resurrection. A story of Shelyn, of Zon-Shelyn, of Dubraul, and of Zon-Shelyn. The story goes back to the beginning of known history. Dubraul being one of the deities who helped seal away Rovagug in the Orskar. But he and his sister one day got into an argument which was so bad that Dubraul went deep into the universe to where no one could find him. This was back so far that during the time of the Aslanti, they had Shelyn as she was in mourning of the loss of her brother, and music was somber. But then he came back as a twisted reflection of what he once was, because he found something in the void between stars, something in the space between voids, maybe something that was originally from one of the old universe that refused to die with it. Regardless of where the madness came from, Dubraul was no more. Now he was Zon-Shelyn. After torturing their father to the point where he became Zon-Shelyn's herald, the new deity of misery went and attacked his sister with the glaive that was whispering words into his ears. But Shelyn took the glaive away and managed to resist the whispers. And this led to a stalemate, because without the whispers, as corrupted as Zon-Shelyn was, there was still a part of him who didn't want to hurt his sister. And that's the stalemate that went on for a while. Afterwards, Zon-Shelyn went into exile into the Netherworld. The Earthfall made it so that the day of eternal night which was promised, came, and Zon-Shelyn was able to come back, though he mostly stayed to his new home in Netherworld. It suited the new him. And for most of the history of Golarion, it was at that point, after the Age of Darkness, I should say. For most of that, it was the continued stalemate of Shelyn wanting to free her brother from the creature he had become, and Zon-Shelyn wanting to harm his sister while also not wanting to harm his sister. The contradiction is still there. Which, fast forward, we reach the gap and we reach Starfinder, where Shelyn is no longer one of the main deities of the Pact Worlds, because she has left it, looking for a cure for her brother, which left the faith of Zon-Shelyn still there, though adding augmentations and body modifications that were now seen as beneficial to his itinerary. But a change would happen, not from either Shelyn or Zon-Shelyn and what they were doing, but because of what a nether god was doing to the chrysalis of a nether god. Hotep had been using his faith on the planet of Octon in order to drain the energy of the child within, in order to make sure that the old god that it was would not hatch, while also strengthening himself. And Shelyn, being the bleeding heart she is, eventually heard the cries of the newborn of what would become the newborn, I should say, and returned to the Pack Worlds to confront Nolly-Hotep herself. But because of all the energy he had been draining and the fact that he was an outer god, Shelyn was put on the back foot and was almost cut down quickly if her brother hadn't shown up to help protect her. The two fought together, but even the two of them were not strong enough to stop Nolly-Hotep at the strength that he was at the time. And so, as a last-ditch effort to win and to make sure the others survived, Shelyn sacrificed everything of herself in order to strengthen Zon-Kuthon. But at the same time, Zon-Kuthon gave everything of himself in order to strengthen Shelyn. This mutual sacrifice allowed them to both combine into one deity, which we have to see how it actually works out, but they're one deity. And backlash for that was enough for them to take Nolly-Hotep by surprise, more or less banishing him from the Pact World system and reversing all the power he had drained from the newborn, allowing it to hatch and become a new deity. And that was the rise of both the newborn and of Zon-Shelyn. As I said, we still do not know specifically how it works. Whether it's like Triune, where they still are separate while being together, or whether they're an amalgamation of two siblings. But Pathfinder, Starfinder 2e is just days away, and pre-orders have already been received. So, the time we should know something is close at hand. Well, it's just a player's guide, so we're probably not going to get too deeper details, but that's partially why I'm doing this today. Which, that's the end of my story. So, I'm going to call it here. Thank you everyone who stopped by to hear me talk. And I hope you enjoy Starfinder, hope you enjoy Pathfinder, hope you enjoy whatever games you play, even if it's not by Paizo. Until then, well, not until then. I'm trying to do usual intros while not doing a usual video, but either way, whichever you play, I hope you have a good day. Which is a corny rhyme I'm never doing again, even though it might be a good, stable outro. Anyway, take care.